Hey everybody, Thomas here again with a quick video going over the results of this hypertrophy phase. So just kind of as a reminder, the things that I was measuring against were obviously the assessment, which everything will be measured against. I was looking at my weight, and this actually worked out pretty well. I started off at about 145 and wound up closer to 150. So I definitely gained weight, which was the goal. Hopefully that is useful weight. We'll kind of see. And then the next was a couple of measurements. So I was going kind of bodybuilder style, measuring basically just my biceps and my forearms, just because I don't really know how to measure some other stuff. So both of those improved. They grew by about half an inch, which I don't know, objectively, like how good that is in terms of a 4 week cycle, but it seems good. At least it was positive. And then the last thing, just as a reminder, was to keep an eye out for the progression that of the actual exercises that I did. So let's go over that progression part. This was definitely a big takeaway for me, and this is sort of indicative of the overall idea. So I noticed that the most improved exercises for me were definitely curls and some of the core work, so the ice cream makers and the leg raises. And then least improved were, unsurprisingly, the more compound exercises. So for me, weighted pull-ups and bench. And like I mentioned at the end here, this idea of isolation, single joint exercises versus compound definitely made a difference, which is, again, unsurprising when you look at everything that, bodybuilders and whatnot have learned over the many years. Okay, so going over the results. I was pretty pessimistic. I was kind of assuming, because I wasn't doing any strength work or any power work, that this was going to be pretty bad. And a few things did go down, but it was a little bit better than I thought it was. So the one that definitely decreased was my just 20 millimeter half crimp hang. You can see it went down about 5 pounds. Now, going through and then switching over to the strength phase, I did notice that my numbers here don't really seem to reflect how strong I was at the time. Basically, this when I did the assessment here, it seemed like I was kind of having an off day. So anyway, hopefully this was just an anomaly. But the next were the three finger hangs. Definitely got better. The actual number didn't go up just because my left hand wasn't feeling great on the kind of next level, the 15 pound, body weight minus 15 pound hang. But they definitely felt a lot better. And I think that was due to just doing a lot more three finger drag hanging with the repeaters. So when I transition over to the strength phase, hopefully that helps. The 6 mil hang, this was one that I definitely noticed. I think this was just a bad day. I've since hung, much longer than this, just in a couple of my workouts. So I think take that one with a grain of salt. The 45-degree sloper is still bad. I still think it's my home board. Like when I go to the gym and hang, I can hang on for multiple seconds and it's fine. My home board still feels kind of dry and dusty and slippery, like it just needs to be broken in. So anyway, I'm working on that. The front lever felt a lot better, and I think my hip position was quite a bit better this time. Which honestly, I was a bit surprised on this. I figured this one might go down just because I haven't been doing many difficult, actual front levers. It's been a lot of repetitions. The one arm stuff and the 90-degree lockout stuff basically stayed the same. Didn't really feel better or worse. And then the campusing, the big 1.5, whatever, did go down, and that's unsurprising because I haven't done any power. But the 1x1 stayed the same, and I am very happy to say that the flexibility work has been paying off. So that improved quite a bit. And that is nice because I've been trying to work on it a lot. It's just taken up a lot of time. Luckily, it's time, especially during like rest periods, when I was doing the repeaters, it's pretty boring. There's a lot of resting and there's a lot of sets. So there's time to do this kind of flexibility work. So I was trying to fit in as much of that as I can. And, at the gym too, just making sure to try to stretch, in between sets, just as something to do. And it did pay off. So I'm happy about that. Hopefully I can keep this up, because it'd be nice to kind of reach some more milestones here. And hopefully that kind of helps with the overall. Okay, so big takeaways. It worked. My metrics that I was kind of measuring against, all of those did improve, other than the assessment, but that one was, I was expecting it to go down, and the fact that it didn't go down more, I would consider a win. Again, the hypertrophy phase is still, the overall effectiveness, I would say, is up in the air until the end of the strength phase, because I think the hypertrophy is really just a build-up to the strength, giving you more muscle mass to work with, and then hopefully the strength can take advantage of that. So like I said before, the assessment went better than I thought it would, which is good. And hopefully when I go into the strength one, it's going to jump up quite a bit. The one thing that was a bummer for this was that it is incredibly time consuming. I think I was probably doing too much. I was doing too many sets. Going back, it would probably be better to do like 3 sets and go a little bit higher on the reps, or, in terms of pump, just trying harder. The 5 sets and doing multiple workouts per set was really taking a lot of time in the weightlifting gym, time away from the climbing wall. And it also meant that doing 5 days a week, I was pretty tired when it came to the weekend, so I didn't have much energy or motivation to get outside, which is probably, an excuse as well. I just need to find projects and get motivated, but that is one thing to keep in mind, is that you're going to be wiped out at the end of a difficult week. And if you really want, to do the actual goal of all this, get outside and send some hard stuff, then, you might want to pare it back a bit. I've been trying to kind of operate at the upper limit of what I think my body is capable of. And I think I've found it with this, but it might be worth it to back off a little bit, just to give yourself a little bit more energy. The big one is that if I want to do more hypertrophy, or more effective hypertrophy, I needed to find more of these single joint isolated exercises rather than relying on compound stuff. The reason I wound up doing the compound stuff was based on a few things. One, I didn't want to do a bunch of different, weightlifting exercises to get all of that stuff. So I figured if I could do compound things that hit multiple muscle groups, it might just work out. I'm sure it helped, but it's not the best plan for sure. The other thing was, I just didn't know what I wanted to hit, and I figured that if I did compound stuff, I could at least feel what was the limiting factor, and I think that did kind of help. I could tell that on a lot of these exercises, my shoulders felt like the limiting factor for sure. So I think if I can find ways to isolate my deltoids, that might be a helpful exercise. And the other thing is that my climbing gym, and probably most climbing gyms, are pretty sparse. It's a good gym. It has a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of generically useful things: barbells, dumbbells, pull-up stuff, a cable cross machine, that kind of thing. So it's better than most gyms, to be honest, but still is lacking in some stuff that would be helpful, namely machines. So I know at my office, there's a little kind of hotel-like gym in there with a few machines, which might be helpful, but things like doing lat pull downs rather than weighted pull-ups, I think do make quite a big difference. I think taking out some of the core requirements and just being able to isolate a little bit more would be helpful. So I think if I do wind up going back into my office more often, maybe taking advantage of that. So anyway, things like the machine, using machines for, I was thinking, like I mentioned, lat pull downs, maybe more like low rows, like cable rows rather than bar rows. Anything that really puts the the actual exercise motion kind of more on rails and allows you to really isolate a specific muscle group, I think would be helpful. And then the final thing here is that if you can, just figure out what exercises you want to hit and focus on and use that essentially. So again, I did not know what I needed to do in this case, but I think I have a better idea now moving forward. So anyway, this was definitely a useful thing to go over. I think it will be helpful when it comes to the strength phase, and I think going forward it'll help me plan a little bit more. But after the strength phase, we'll kind of know more whether or not it's worth the time and effort to do this kind of pure hypertrophy training. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll keep you informed. So next is going over what the plans are for the strength phase and specific exercises and all that stuff, and then we'll kind of see how it goes. All right, thanks everyone. See you next time.